Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
Great news. It doesn't feel like a Monday anymore.
Feels like a Thursday?
It feels like a Thursday. I'm so happy. I got out of that Monday curse. Apparently, when I was speaking to everybody else at work over here, including the people working with me at the Sharjah International Book Fair, they all agreed that it just feels like it's been Monday for 4 days. I think it was a Monday curse going on here and there. Speaking of curses, we're going to be talking about a TV show that was all about curses and creepy things. We do have a review of it. If you guys are not sure what we're talking about, it's something that we've been kind of hyping up for a while. We spoke about it when it was first released because it is considered as the first ever Arabic Netflix original, and that is Paranormal or Ma Wara At-Tabi'a.
Yes, I can't wait. Me and Aisha have been binging through it for the past couple of days, and now I think it's we're more than ready to talk about it. But want to get you guys to join in. Texas 4215. It's Salat Urdu. Share your own personal critique of the show. I know it has a lot of expectations to fulfill. And are you one of those people who have been waiting for this show or just heard about it? Because I'm sure if you went on Netflix, you'd see it on the top 10 most viewed. Mm-hmm. So it's a big deal, and we'll tell you why. So be sure to tune in.
It's a massive deal because, again, it's the first thing that you see when you open Netflix. And I think the reason behind that is because Netflix is also trying to push it, is trying to say that, look at us, we're trying to be have universal choices, universal options for everybody across the entire world, and also shows their commitment to having, like I said, diverse options. We also have Aysha Al Hemrani. I spoke to her earlier a couple of hours ago to talk about illustrations, and not just illustrations, normal illustrations, but rather illustrating books, because in accordance with the Sharjah International Book Fair, we've been talking to a lot of authors. We've spoken to poets. Today, actually, this morning, we've spoken to a spoken word poet, but we never spoke to illustrators. We even spoke to publishers of ebooks and audiobooks. But illustrators, artists, we did not forget about you. Aysha Al Hemrani, an Emirati Illustrator, just talked to me. It was a lovely conversation about what she does and how she got into it. And even if you want to try it out in the UAE, she's got some tips and tricks for you. So make sure you're tuning in to that later on in the hour. This is Afternoon Karak.
Your coping mechanism for the hour.
Your coping mechanism, no, for 2020. Because what? We are 49 days away to the end of the year. And we know that 2020 has been hard. But here on the Afternoon Karak, we're trying to ease it up for you. Hold your hands and let's venture into the world of entertainment and much more right here on Pulse 95.
Is it an epic or epic failure? The Big Review. Movies, games, and TV in focus.
Pulse 95.
Paranormal or Ma Wara At-Tabi'a is a TV show based on a supernatural book by Ahmed Khalid Tawfiq, and it's not a new book actually. It is quite an old book, and it stars a retired Egyptian doctor named Rafat Ismail who meets up or bumps into, and I would call her an old flame back when he studied in Scotland. And just coincidentally, around that time, a lot of weird supernatural things start happening. And the funny thing is that he is a massive skeptic of everything because he's a man of science.
Yes.
He keeps quoting Murphy's Law, and he even quotes his own law when he says Rafat's Law number 22, Rafat's Law number 25, and so on. And yeah, it's a very interesting TV show, to say the least.
It is a 6-part show, 6 episodes, with every episode featuring like the Monster of the Week scenario. And what's really interesting about it is immediately the tone of this film. It's set in the 60s Egyptian time, and it's already got this nostalgic and authentic look and feel of that time and era. Mm-hmm. And I really like that. There's a really great attention to just the culture, the heritage, and just how the the way people spoke around at that time, you know, and it really puts you into just that world of paranormal.
Yes.
Now, what's interesting also is the fact that the character himself,
Rafat
Ismail, I don't think I've ever seen a character like him in a kind of an anthology series like this. Like you said, he's a man of science. He's very rational, but when things are not rational anymore, when things are becoming paranormal, you could say, even then he's always constantly questioning it.
Yeah.
He's got a doom and gloom attitude to everything.
Oh God, yes.
You know, he expects the worst, and when things do go dire, he's like, I don't believe in this.
And it's sort of, at some point you just want to like grab him by the collar and say, don't you see what is happening around you? Just snap out of it. And I think that goes into the character himself as a whole. He has a conflict within him. He does have another conflict as well in terms of loving himself as well, because he is engaged in the TV show. And even then, he is very restrictive, even though Huwaida, who is his fiance, is trying her best at trying to please him, or basically, you know, try to create some sort of relationship. Meanwhile, he's fighting it. So there's a lot of mental and internal fighting within Rafat.
As well as the external conflict as Egypt becomes just festered with all these paranormal activities. And he's just reluctantly, in a way, the right guy for the job, you know?
Unfortunately, and it's also... he might be the reason why these things are happening, because the beginning of the TV show, he turns 40, and he even wondered, is the fact that he turned 40, I'm going to say it's a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler, but some information. But he says that it's the fact that he turned 40 is the reason why these things are happening.
Yeah.
Because a certain, I'd say, character from the past, besides Maggie, who I need to talk about in a moment, appears, and because of that person's appearance, a lot of things start going wrong around him. So I really like that. They do, when they say mystery, they were not joking. When they say paranormal, they were not joking either. They gave us the supernatural, they gave us the craziness, they gave us, you know, the hesitation, the confusion, and they gave us the conflict of all kinds, internal and external. So I appreciate all of that. But I feel like we have to go into the negative criticism, because I feel like there's a handful or a bunch of them. But before that, let me talk about Razan, who plays Maggie. Goodness, fantastic.
Absolutely talented. I'm blown away by this character and the actor herself. I never felt like she played something that was superficial. I felt like that was a genuine character. And I tested it myself. What's great is Netflix is that they have the original dub, Egyptian dub, very authentic, and then you also have the English dub. And I tested between them, and none of them felt short in terms of the quality of the dialogue and the dialect and the way they spoke. It's so genuine, and I never felt like I was out of the experience. Yeah. You know, so, and just Maggie.
Hold on. You didn't feel it was paranormal?
Yes. Oh my God. But Maggie herself is like the counterpart of Safat himself, where Safat is always
Rafat.
Sorry, I mixed up.
I get it. It's super exciting talking about this, because us as Arabs, we're feeling that we're kind of being represented on a massive platform, and even seeing the fact that they did not cast somebody who is Western in this TV show, including Maggie herself, who is Arab. She's Lebanese, and she nails the accent, the Scottish accent. I mean, as far as I know, I'm not a language expert or a linguistic expert, but I can see that she nailed it. And again, even seeing the translation, when you can also get Arabic subs in Egyptian, and I appreciate that so much. We're gonna continue our review of Paranormal from Netflix, but text us 4215 Salat, or what have you guys been thinking about the show? Have you been enjoying it, or do you think it is not up to par with the other Netflix originals? So stay tuned for that and much more right here on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
We are continuing our review of Paranormal, or Ma Wara Al-Tabi'a, the first Arabic Netflix original. Now, what's great about it is everything we said in the previous segment. So if you missed out, don't worry, the podcast will be up. But you can join in the conversation. We're not done talking about it. Text us 4215 Ittisalat and do, or slide into our DMs at Pulse95 Radio on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook, and everywhere basically. Even on YouTube, we are streaming live right now. Come and chat with us. Come and comment about this. So again, I've always said so many times that narration is, it's something I love so much. I'm a sucker for it. I love books that are from the first person view, and I also love TV shows that take that and incorporate it into the show. So I love the narration so much, although I did feel that there were times when I wanted even more of it, because his skepticism was very, very amusing. Even his slight occasional jokes here and there, I enjoyed them very, very much.
There is a weird sense of humor that goes to just kind of go throughout the show, and at times you think, okay, is this a bit of a comedy, or is it we're going back to just it being a fantastical drama of some kind?
Yes, and now here's the thing: when we are trying to criticize this TV show, we need to put it into two different categories.
Yes. Just as much as we're impressed, we do have to, just point out the flaws, some of the issues.
So the first thing is we need to put it in the category against other Arabic TV shows and movies. In general, in terms of production, it is pretty good. It was close to immaculate. It's up to par.
Good use of cinematography, visuals, even keyframes, the way they shot some of the scenes.
The desert scenes in the third episode, I enjoyed those very much. I cannot explain how, like you said, just the frames and whatnot, their placement, and it was just great. And it shows you that, that is already a fact, that Egyptian cinema, an Egyptian film, is already, light years ahead of most of, film industries, whether it's in the Gulf or in the MENA region as a whole. But when you take it and put it against a Netflix original, here's when we have some bit of problems, because in comparison, to compare it to Stranger Things, to compare it to The Witcher, you cannot do that.
Yes.
It is like those shows are way ahead in terms of production, maybe. Even the CGI, that kind of annoyed me a little bit. In the third episode, the creature that appears, the CGI was very, very lacking. It felt like it was something probably from the 90s.
Yeah.
And you think that since it's a Netflix original, they'd have a better CGI team. But again, it's like, do we usually have CGI in Arabic movies and Arabic TV shows?
Yeah.
No, but still, it's a Netflix original. So
throws you off a bit.
Exactly. So you have this issue where should I judge it as a Netflix original? Or should I look at it as, a feat for Arabic cinema? So it's like you need to make some considerations for both sides.
Exactly. There is really great strides when it comes to just Middle Eastern programming, and Paranormal is a great example of this. But I wouldn't say it's the best show. At times, there's some very tropey plot scenarios that take place.
Yeah.
But at its core, it tells a very sincere story about conflicted characters, especially our protagonist, Dr. Rafat himself, who is dealing with a lot of things. Like, he's fighting his own demons figuratively and literally. And this is what I love about Paranormal, is the way it visualizes that struggle through this 6-episode adventure. So, Aisha, Paranormal Activity.
Before we go to that, I wanted to add that I also appreciate the fact that it's a book adaptation. I feel like they got lucky that they had really good sources, as in the entire series is expansive. I believe it spanned over 20, 30 years worth of books.
Yeah.
So when you have a long anthology like that, you just have like a lush green area of when it comes to sources. So you can just pick out, choose whatever you want. So again, I think they got really lucky with that. If you go back to Cursed, again, I didn't read Cursed, but I felt perhaps the original story had issues. The book itself had some continuation issues. It was just kind of weird to us that when it was adapted, it was not adapted as well as it could have been. But here, I think, like I said, the book itself, or the books themselves, again, it spanned over 20, 30 years, were quite interesting. There are so many things I could have used, and I appreciate that, especially since it is, we're celebrating the Sharjah International Book Fair, and Ahmed Dawood and Ali Al Hemrani and I have been talking about it on the Book Fair's Book Fair's show that's from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We've been saying that book adaptations, sometimes they're a hit, sometimes they're a miss, and sometimes you can appreciate the book on its own and then appreciate the TV show as a whole separate, different entity on its own.
So Aisha, what is your final verdict? Is it a hit? Is it a miss? Is it a good adaptation? Is it a bad adaptation?
Unfortunately, I have a bias.
Oh, okay.
A big bias. I'm so proud of them for doing this that I find it so hard not to give them a high score. But I will dock a point because of the wigs.
Really? I didn't notice anything about the wigs.
What do you mean you did not notice the wigs?
It was only until afterwards I started reading up that people...
It shows.
I don't see it.
Mikhail, the wigs were terrible.
I didn't know there was a wig until you told me.
What do you mean? Look at Maggie's wig.
Didn't know she had a wig on.
You're kidding me.
I'm serious. I was just so invested in the show.
I'm not saying I wasn't, but I was just clearly looking at the wigs a lot and they bothered me, which is why I'm docking an entire point from that despite my bias. And I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 for me simply because despite being a bit tropey, as long as you change your mindset, don't think of it as a horror anthology.
Yeah.
More like a fantastical adventure.
Absolutely.
That covers a couple of, creepy horror mythologies and anthologies. And it's a really great watch. And even a great effort from the Egyptian production that did this. And it does have potential for a sequel. So yes. 7 out of 10 for Paranormal.
7 out of 10 from myself and Mikhail. What do you guys think? Were we being too generous? Are we too biased? I admitted it. I'm very biased and my heart does not allow me to give them a 6 or a 5 out of 10. But, this is just upwards from here. This is giving an opportunity for other film directors, Arab film directors, and hopefully also GCC directors to collaborate with Netflix and create more Netflix originals. We're going to be taking a short break. We do have the sports headlines coming up next, so stay tuned for that. And the conversation continues right here on the Afternoon Karak.
This is Pulse 95.
Right before the show, I spoke to the lovely Aysha Al Hemrani. I'm not just calling her lovely because we share the same name. She is actually a very lovely person. She is an Emirati illustrator, and I came across one of her books at Sale Publishing. It is available at Sharjah International Book Fair, and I've been actually following her for the longest time ever on Instagram, and I've always said I would love to speak to her one day, and the occasion arose, and here we are. She spoke to us about her journey, how she got into illustrating books, and also how do you, as a person who's interested in this, how can you actually go into this field? So listen up.
With me is Aisha Al Hemrani, an Emirati illustrator who has illustrated a number of books, and her books are actually available at the Sharjah International Book Fair. So let's jump right into it. I wanted to know what got you, first of all, into illustration as a whole and then illustrating for books.
Well, I actually started to draw since I was a kid. I used to be attracted to raw material and white pieces. So since then I knew that I am a creator more than a user. So I started to be influenced by the cartoon characters that I used to watch and just decided to create my own characters that are reflecting what is happening around me. So mainly my inspiration is the environment that I'm living in. I've been active in social media since 2006, and this is how many people and entities approached me, including the executive office in Dubai. Which was one of my favorite projects, illustrating the children's book of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and that was in 2013. Then I felt like, what should I do next after that? Because this is a huge project, and it's the illustrations and the book itself is part of the curriculum in the UAE schools. So I decided to do another book with Maryam Al Qasimi, which is called Curious Adam in both English and Arabic, and it actually got their thighs. Then I started to do sessions with Skill Lab, a company that is teaching participants new skills, including writing and creating a book, a children's book in specific. So I actually produced many books during these workshops, almost 3 workshops with them.
And can we say that you fell in love with illustrating books?
Well, actually, my dream was to be part of the collective minds in the region, and illustrating books is a huge part of that, because if you have your name in a book that has an ISBN, I mean, that's huge, because you're actually going to be part of the history, of the written history or the culture of this region. The illustration of books is my way to communicate even with children, because I love art and children as well.
And how do you become a book illustrator, whether it's in the UAE or anywhere in the world?
Well, I don't have like the exact playbook for that, to be honest, but when I was part of Skill Lab workshop, they actually got Kalimat Publishing House, which is based in Sharjah, to get their staff to educate us as illustrators. How do we approach the text? How do we charge for such things? And it was quite useful for us as illustrators. I think the starting point was a bit not the regular with the book of Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. They approached me through social media, and this is how I started with my first and one of the major books. Later on with Curious Adam, it was with a friend of mine. And then we asked our professors in university, how can we start that? So it was quite new. And then we got the help of one of the publishing houses called Midat. And they were quite welcoming and awareing us as an illustrator and an author how to start. So my beginnings are quite irregular, and it's not the like a clear timeline. But I think if you approach those who are dealing with books, they will be more than happy to educate you on how can you start such projects.
And do you feel that social media is a very important platform in launching such a career?
In my opinion, yes, especially for those who did not have maybe the official education of arts, where they can actually connect and network with the community. It's never too late. So in my belief, Instagram or such platforms can actually grant you the access of the most prominent and global companies to get to know your artwork and approach you. Right now, I'm still learning how to approach even like other entities. But I think the beginning, the safe beginning for many people is through social media, because you can easily post anything you want and you'll be approached by everyone. And if you don't want to reveal who you are, or you want to test any of your work, you can do it safely and in an anonymous way.
Well, there you go.
Very, very insightful.
Exactly.
And just comes to show that's just one out of the many talented and creative authors and illustrators and just people that are involved at the Sharjah International Book Fair that is still going until Saturday. So if you want to go to the event, it's at the Sharjah Expo Center. It's a free admission at the SharjahReads.com. Don't miss out. And I'm sure there's going to be a fire sale now. This is the last couple of days.
Yeah.
All the outlets are going to be selling on really big discounts, so take advantage of that.
They usually do that on the last couple of days, whether it's today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow.
Also, don't miss out on Aisha Al Mazmi.
Oh yeah, don't forget me, guys. Me, Ahmed Dawood, and Ali Al Hemrani are still going to go live on Saturday. It's going to be our last show from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. But again, just so many inspiring people that we've met across a couple of days. It's only 10 days, and it was just a lot of fun. And I love that Sharjah International Book Fair is what finally got me to speak to Aisha, because again, like I said earlier, is that I've been wanting to talk to her, and especially her journey into illustrating books for the longest time ever. One of the most common debates we've always had over the past couple of days during the show at the Sharjah Expo Center is, how do I start? Where do I go? And the answer right now, from all the questions we've asked to various authors, the questions we've asked publishers, it's always the same. Just go for it. Just do it. It sounds simple, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's us who are stopping ourselves. Again, it sounds very cliched, throwback to cliche day. This is one of the things you hear so many things, oh, just do it. But that's the truth. Just get on with it.
Exactly, and this
Yes.
is the Sharjah International Book Fair is the platform for you to go, the event to go to meet these inspirational people, the people who are in that industry, who have been following their journey, their personal journeys into publication, into illustration, into creative work. Go to them. Go to the event. It's free admission. And believe me, you're going to have a great time.
Absolutely. Again, I've been having a great time over there. And so I'm pretty sure Ahmed and Alia as well. Mikhail, we haven't seen you there yet.
I'll be there at the fire sale.
The fire sale. Reminder, so if you guys want to check out the sessions because they're still ongoing, and the sessions themselves are also a great way and opportunity for you to learn how to kick off that writing or illustrating project you've been putting off for the longest time ever. Even social media tips and tricks. So many expansive topics. So go check out sharjahreads.com to sign up for these sessions. But if you want to be physically there at the Sharjah International Book Fair, you will need to go to sibf.com or just, again, Google it. How do I register for the Sharjah International Book Fair? It is so simple. Due to COVID-19 precautionary measures, you just need to sign up so you can have a 3-hour slot. And I know 3 hours is usually not enough for the Sharjah International Book Fair, but if there is a chance, you might be able to extend it further and register one more time for it to be a longer period. Guys, go check it out. You've got 2.5 more days. It starts off at 10 a.m. ends at 10 p.m. But tomorrow, Friday, it kicks off at 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. So have fun and take care and go to the Sharjah International Book Fair.
And that is it for the afternoon Karak. We want to wish you a wonderful, fantastic weekend and hope to see you guys next week here on the show. I'm going to be running solo. I'll be missing Aisha, but she does deserve a break after the event. You know, I can tell Thursday has been a long day awaited.
Actually, yesterday was kind of a long day, but again, I was still having fun. And
no more Mondays.
No more Mondays, repetitive Mondays. It was sort of like Groundhog Day, to say the least. But again, I've been having fun in between. I've been watching Paranormal, which we reviewed earlier in the hour. And if you missed out, again, text us 4215 Salat Urdu. I'm pretty sure Big Hassan and Schofield can pick up the conversation. If they have watched it or not, you guys should ask them that by texting them 4215 Salat Urdu. We did get a text from 0644 that says 8.5 out of 10 and a smiley face. And I think that person is also as biased as we are because we gave it a 7 out of 10. If you missed out on that on the review and the interview, make sure you tune in to the podcast. And with that, we bid you farewell. Take care and stay tuned to Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.